135 participants. So we're going to try something that maybe is unique to you. We're going to make this very much a participation presentation. So if you wanted to just listen in, I guess you could do that, but get ready to participate, especially if you're on a device that is easy for you to vote, because we're going to take polls on each question that we talk about ethics today. So ready or not, here we go. Are you guys ready? Let's go. A little bit about myself first. Can you guys see that? Ethics, resolving ethical issues in a, I'm sorry, is that N is extra, as a care provider during a pandemic. And that's my name, David Bueno Martin, which is very confusing because people read David Martin, which is completely okay. But if you want to pronounce it like the original is David Martin, originally from Spain. That's our website, martincounseling.com, for the practice. And we also run a website called HoustonLPC.com. So you can look at it. One of the things that we do through HoustonLPC.com that has been very helpful for people through the years is that we have a job board. So if you're looking for a therapist and you would like to advertise at HoustonLPC.com, we can send you the information about how to do so on the job board. A little bit about me, because it's about ethics and it's ethical to disclose who I am and who I'm not. I hold a master's degree in psychology from the University of Malaga. You might not have never heard of Malaga before. Malaga is in southern Spain on the coast in the Mediterranean. Malaga is the birthplace of artist Pablo Picasso, also the birthplace of Antonio Banderas. And I say, why don't I have that name? It will make my life so much easier, right? Antonio Banderas, that answers a lot of questions. Well, Antonio Banderas and I went to the same high school, different years, true story, but he's a little bit older than me. My wife is from Katy, and she was actually a missionary in Spain. And I joke with her and say that she did her mission and got herself a husband. And we've been in Katy for the last, well, she was in Katy before that. She's originally from Katy, but I have been in Katy since 2005. And so a few years after I moved here, I got my license, and I've been doing LPC supervision since 2013. So I guess next year is my 10th year anniversary as a supervisor. We started Martin Counseling in 2011. So this year we're celebrating our 11th anniversary. And as of today, there are 30 clinicians working at the practice. My wife and I have been married for 16 years. We have 2 children. Nora is 8, Joel David is 6, and a picture is worth 1,000 words. So there we are in the happiest and most expensive place on earth. You guys know where that is? Look at the kids' t-shirts, it will give it away. That is Epcot. They were celebrating spring, apparently, at that time. So disclosure, I have no financial relationship to the organizers. So I have not paid to do this presentation, not am I getting paid, and I have no actual or potential conflict of interest in relationship to this program and presentation. So again, the ethical thing to disclose as well. Well, one of the things that we're talking about today is ethics, but it happens that we are in the middle of a pandemic. So are those things related at all? And I know that that was hopefully to you a catchy title, ethics during a pandemic. What are ethics particularly important during a pandemic? So as I was reading on it and thinking about it, I came across this quote, this article by Dr. Dave Archer. So I put it there on the presentation so you can take a look at his name, his reference. And so I would like to read, it's only 3 minutes, but I'd like to read what he says about the importance of ethics during this time. And then we're going to jump in and do that, talk about ethics for about 40 minutes or so, maybe a little bit more than that. I got my clock right there, so I'm watching the time. So this is what Dr. Archer says. In an emergency, such as the current COVID-19 pandemic, governments have at least 2 important responsibilities. The first is to provide information to citizens about what's happening, why, and for how long. Secondly, governments must provide citizens with guidance as to what they should do, and sometimes backed by legal penalties for non-compliance. And again, this should explain why citizens are being asked to do it and for how long. And he's based in the UK, so he references the UK government as having a strategy. And at the same time, it is committed, the government, in their own words, for maximum transparency, quote unquote. Yet in explaining the strategy to the public, the government has continued to insist on a single mantra, that this is led by the science, quote unquote. There are two problems with this. Firstly, there's not such thing as, quote unquote, the science, because scientists disagree, sometimes quite radically, and the science process is actually a contestation of a debate about competing claims. And second, science alone is not enough to justify a strategy. You also need values. Indeed, science and values are often inextricably mixed. To give you two examples, social isolation may, like science tells us, work to reduce the rate of infection. But we also need to ask a moral question. There are particular social groups, the old, the vulnerable, single, who will be particularly disadvantaged by social isolation. What then do we owe them by way of support? Second, a contact tracing app on your phone may not be, may work very well, actually, indeed, to reduce or mitigate transmission rates. But again, we need to ask a moral question. Is the possible loss of individual privacy by having such an app on your phone more than outweighed by the gains to public health? And at the end, he concludes this: above all else, ethics advice is something that should be done clearly and transparently. It is not something that should be done in locked rooms, unminuted, and in secret. Because at the end of the day, consideration for ethical matters must be made by the public in a transparent fashion. In this particular pandemic, we're going to face, and I would say, he writes, we're going to face, but I would say, and we have been facing, and we have faced, we're still facing very difficult ethical choices. And some of us are going to have to make very difficult choices more than others. Those choices are essentially moral ones. And we need to know why they're moral, and we need to know how to address and resolve them. We need, in short, to do ethics. And so let's do that. Let's talk about ethics today. So here is, hopefully you see on your screen not only my presentation, but you're going to see a poll come up. So I would like to ask you, you're back in school, okay? So here you go, multiple choice. Ethics defines what is good for the individual, while law defines what is good for society. B says what is good for both society and the individual. C says what law does not define. D is what is good for society and has no effect on the individual. So I believe Eric is able to do the poll and get the answers to that. I'll give you just a second to come up with your answer. This one is an easy one, so we should be okay. Eric, do you have the poll?
Okay, we're coming up with the polls here. Let's see. Okay, ready, launch.
I don't see it. So tell me what it says for A, B, C, or D.
Okay, we got some good results coming in.
Still people voting. So
Oh yeah, we're voting.
what is the top one?
The top choice is choice B right now.
Choice B is correct. What is good for both society and the individual. Okay, well, that worked. Have you ever been to a presentation where they did that? I hadn't. So new things today in February of 2022. Ethics may be best defined as, and here are your choices. What is considered moral? Aristotle's philosophical concept, beliefs about what is correct or proper behavior, or the only right action as determined by the institution one works for. So same thing. Instead of going to the blank page, I'll leave it up right now and vote. I believe Eric can do the poll again and see whether it's A, B, C, or D.
Okay, we got some voting going on right now.
Okay.
And it looks like choice C is going to be
the top one. There you go.
Yes.
We got a really good, smart, prepared crowd with us. Believe about what is correct or proper behavior. Let's do another one. In Texas, by the way, I'm an LPC and supervisor, and I am in Texas. So if there's requirements in terms of your ethics CEUs being in Texas from an LPC, that's me. If you hold another license, it's very, very probable that the answers apply to you, but I'm using the LPC rules as a reference. So you also want to double check with your own. So that's the disclosure. In Texas, mental health services can be provided regardless of whether valid informed consent can be obtained. That's your option A. Option B is should only be provided when informed consent can be obtained. C is do not apply to ethical conduct. D is can be provided when a person is incapable of giving consent. A, B, C, D. I'll leave it up for just a few more seconds. I believe there's a poll going on. Are the answers coming in already, Eric?
We got people voting, and looks like right now it's going to be choice B.
What's the percentage on that?
We got 75% right now.
Oh, wow. 75%. Yeah, we're going to hear the percentages too. That's correct. Should only be provided when informed consent can be obtained. Moving on, morality is best defined as ethics, the attitude of counselors, that's B. C, so A, ethics, B, the attitude of counselors, C, views on sexual behavior, D, the judgment or evaluation of ethical principles based on social, cultural, and religious norms. Morality. I'm assuming the poll is going on.
Yes, we have a lot of people voting right now.
Tell me the percentage that is on the top right now.
I think we got choice D.
D, the judgment or evaluation of ethical principles. That is correct. Based on social, cultural, and religious norms. Ethical principles are best defined as A, expressions of morality, B, statements that reflect values of society, C, ideas that provide direction for daily living, D, expressions that reflect people's obligations or duties. Ethical principles was the best definition out of those four. What are the folks saying, Mr.
Wow,
Eric?
this is a tighter one this time.
Oh, let's see. What do we have?
We have with about 44% choice
Wow.
D, with
D, expressions that
30%
reflect.
choice B.
Okay, so you have D is 44% or so, and the other one is B, as in boy.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look. Most people were right. Expressions that reflect people's obligations or duties. All of the following are reasons ethical codes are developed, except A, protecting clients and professionals, B, providing guidance for ethical decision-making, C, granting professional immunity from legal action when ethics violations occur, D, helping to establish an organization by differentiating itself from similar institutions. All of these are reasons why ethical codes are developed, except for one of them. Which one would you say is not correct?
All righty, our top choice right now with about 68% is choice C.
Granting professional immunity, let's take a look. You are right. Granting professional immunity from legal action when ethics violations occur. That is not one of the reasons why they develop, or we develop, ethical codes. Let's see the next one. What constitutes an ethical dilemma? A says when the guiding principle of autonomy is violated. B says cognitive dissonance experienced by the professional. C says when a professional witness another practicing paternalism. D, when a choice must be made between two mutually exclusive courses of actions. What is actually a good definition of an ethical dilemma? What's the answer for most voters?
Okay, we got the votes coming in. I feel like I'm on a game show. This is kind of cool. We have around 75% saying choice D.
D. Good, good, good. Those 75% voters are correct with their choice. Wow. I mean, you guys have gotten every single one right. I hope there are a little bit harder questions in here. You walk away a little bit shocked. Oh, here's one. Buying a property at far below market value from a client who has suffered a recent loss in the family due to COVID would not be considered, that's A, would not be considered an inappropriate boundary violation. B is an inappropriate boundary violation. C says is an appropriate and ethical action. And D says does not apply to ethical conduct.
Alrighty.
What are people voting?
We have a lot of good votes on this one. About, let's see, 85-90% is going with choice B.
B is inappropriate. It's an inappropriate boundary violation. That is correct. In Texas, an LPC shall not accept the gift of, oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm trying to minimize my screen because I can't read the question. There you go. In Texas, an LPC shall not accept a gift from a client or a relative of a client value at more than $75, $25, $100, $50, or $50 using.
Oh, this is a little bit closer here on this one. Right now, it looks like we have around 52% saying D and about 40% saying B.
Is 50 as of today. There are new rules coming up. I got an email this morning. There are new rules coming up for LPCs and other licenses that are going to be effective in a few days. But as of today, is $50. So any gift from my clients, if they're valued at 49.5, I'm okay receiving that. In Texas, an LPC associate's experience hours earned via counseling by technological means of communication may count for no more than blank of the total supervised hours. A says 5%, B says 10%, C is 50%, and D is unlimited. What is the top choice for our audience today?
Well, looks like we have around 60% choice C.
C, 50%. I wanted to get you guys, and I finally did. You are wrong. It's unlimited.
Oh.
It used to be in the previous set of rules that you could gain up to 10% of your direct hours through technological means, and that went away. And so there's no limit. You can do telehealth for 100% of your hours, and the board will allow you to count those direct hours as direct as long as you're doing it in compliance with supervision. And so actually what I hear from a lot of LPC associates is that the word out there in the street is that it's capped to 10%, and that's because they're quoting an old rule that is no longer in effect. If you don't hold an LPC license, check with your board to see what that percentage is. But for LPCs in Texas, as of today, it's unlimited, which is good news for COVID, right? Because my goodness, my practice changed from in-person to online overnight 2 years ago. In Texas, when it comes to drug and alcohol use, a licensee shall not use alcohol or drugs in any manner. That's A. B says, use alcohol or drugs in a manner that adversely affect the licensee's ability to provide counseling, treatment, intervention services. C, promote, encourage, or concur in the illegal use or possession of alcohol or drugs. And D says B and C are correct. Don't you love when the professors will tell you those where B and C are correct for D? What are the votes, Eric?
Oh man, we have about 90% saying choice D.
D is B and C are correct. Let's see. You are right. Drug and alcohol use. A licensee shall not use alcohol. I put the whole shebang in there because sometimes I get audiences that question me on this one, but it seems like overall our participants got it right today. So there's the rule for LPCs in the state of Texas. All right, let's see if I can go to the next one. You are licensed. You are a licensed professional counselor, LPC, from Dallas, Texas, with a master's degree in counseling and a doctorate, PhD, in technology and operations management. On your appointment cards for clients, the most appropriate way to list yourself is A, Jane Doe, MA, LPC, B, Dr. Jane Doe, LPC, C says Jane Doe, PhD, or D, Dr. Jane Doe, PhD, LPC. Eric, tell me what people are thinking.
Okay, it's coming in about 65% are saying choice A.
A, Jane Doe, MA, LPC. What happened with the doctorate? What happened to that doctorate? Well, according to the ACA Code of Ethics, when acting as a counselor in a counselor context, counselors may not use their highest degree earned, may only use, their highest degree earned in counseling, should not imply doctorate level competence unless their doctorate degree is in a clinical or related field. Very good, very good. In Texas, an LPC in private practice learns that one of their clients is receiving counseling treatment intervention from another mental health provider. What they should do is A, discontinue treatment since it would be unethical to continue seeing the client. B, request release from the client to inform the other professional. C, strive to establish positive and collaborative professional relationships. And D is that fear B and C are correct. What are those votes telling us today?
It looks like around 80% is choice D.
D as in David,
Yes.
B and C are correct. Oh man, I'm telling you, today we got really good crowd. That is correct. If a licensee learns of such concurrent therapy, the licensee must request release from the client to inform the other professional and strive to establish a positive and collaborative relationship with the other professional. How might the ethical principle of confidentiality be compromised in a managed care system when we're billing insurance? A, distributive justice cannot be upheld. B, a client's records might be requested by the managed care operating organization. C says a client's sense of privacy might be violated if they do not have the opportunity to review the privacy laws given the time constraints during the therapy session. Or D, none of the above. How might the ethical principle of confidentiality be compromised when dealing with insurance? What are the top answers?
We're looking at about 70% choice B as in boy.
B as in boy, a client's records might be requested by the managed care operating organization. And the answer is B, that is correct. Which one of the following statement is not accurate? A says some counselors' behaviors may be specified in an ethical code, but not in a legal code. B says some counselor behaviors may be specified in a legal code, but not in an ethical code. C says some counselors' behaviors may be specified in neither the legal nor ethical codes. And D, I can't see because I have to move this. A good code of ethics covers all counselors' behaviors. Which one is not accurate? What are the votes, Eric?
We're about 90% choice D for David.
D says a good code of ethics covers all counselor behaviors. Of course, that is not true. Good job. When working with an individual from different cultures, the effective counselor may not A, use language similar to the client's, B, maintain good eye contact at all times, C, be cognizant of the context, or D, honor religious beliefs.
Well, this looks a little closer this time.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Oh, what's the top one?
Man, we're close here. Looks like choice C is about 45%. Choice B is around 33.
So choice C is the number one choice, be cognizant of the context. And choice B says maintain good eye contact at all times. Is that right? Those are the answers, right? So this one also is tricky because it's actually maintaining good eye contact, and there's a little bit of an explanation that I put there. It is expected in our Western culture that we maintain good eye contact at all times, but in Eastern traditions, however, eye contact is averted in some situations, and it is the counselor's job to know those subtle differences and respect them. I want to try something. I would like to show you a clip with Dr. Gustav Young, and then I want to ask you this question. So let's see if the technology allows us to do that. Can you guys see this screen? Yes?
Looks
Eric,
good.
yes? Okay, let's go.
Did Freud himself ever analyze you?
Oh, yes, I submitted quite a lot of my dreams to him, and so did he.
And he to you, yes?
Oh, yes.
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 Do you remember now, at this distance of time, what were the significant features of Freud's dreams that you noted at the time?
So here is the question. What do you guys think Young does next? A, keep confidentiality regarding Freud's clinical information. B, disclose the information about Freud's dreams since he had passed away. C, disclose confidential information since there is no ethical guidelines at the time. Or D, keep confidentiality, but feels that he could disclose if he really wanted to.
Okay, we got voting going on. Let's look. It is about 70% choice A.
So let's go back and watch what he says. I think is, let's see, this one. Watch this.
Well, that is rather indiscreet to ask. You know, there is such a thing as a professional secret.
He's been dead these many years.
Yes, but these regards last longer than life.
So you guys were right. He keeps confidentiality on Dr. Freud about the dreams. Very nice. Let's see, I put the answer there. Confidentiality is a blank issue. A, therapeutic, B, legal, C, ethical, D, all of the above.
So far, we are almost about 100% D, all of the above.
D, all of the above. Yes, that is correct. In Texas, an LPC shall not provide counseling services to previous or current A, family members, B, personal friends, C, business associates, D, all of the above.
All right. Looks just about 100% saying choice D, all of the above.
Yes, that is correct. All of the above. All right, we have time now on this one. I wasn't sure how we were going to do on time, but there's not a lot of, there are only 2 questions that we've presented, right? That people have voted differently than what the answer was. So I think I'm going to save this for the end. We're going to keep going with questions. So that was the end of my presentation there, but because we have more time, I wasn't sure if we were going to have the opportunity to cover more ground, and we do. So the Taski Experiment is one of the most published research projects referred to in an ethical discussion today. And it involved the development, A is developmentally delayed children being given hepatitis by injection. B is elderly patients with chronic illness who were injected with liver cancer cells. C is penicillin treatment withheld from African-American test subjects with syphilis. Or D, affluent children given NutraSweet in their Coca-Cola with a control group receiving regular Coca-Cola. Some of you are remembering potentially seeing this in during your master's degree, maybe. What are the votes telling us, Eric?
Well, we have an informed group. They're about 97% choice C.
C, penicillin treatment withheld from African-American test subjects with syphilis. What? Yes, that is the right answer. You guys remember that. And I put some notes there about this study. So if you want to learn more, go to Taski syphilis study, and you can learn more about what happened in Alabama in 1932. All of the following are reasons for ethical codes, why they're developed, except one. A says protecting clients and professionals. B is providing guidance for ethical decision-making. C is granting professional immunity from legal action when ethics violations occur. Or D, helping to establish an organization by differentiating itself from similar institutions. Which one is not a reason why ethical codes are developed?
And we're coming in about 85% choice C.
C, granting professional immunity from legal action when ethics violation occur. Is correct. Courage, cleanliness, and cheerfulness are examples of A, morals, B, terminal values, C, ethical principles, D, instrumental values. What are the folks telling us, Eric?
Looks like around 70%. Choice D.
D, instrumental values. Let's see if that is correct. Instrumental values can be defined as specific methods of behavior. Instrumental values are not an end goal, but rather provide the means by which an end goal is accomplished. Very good. How might the ethical principle, oh, we already did that one. You already got it right. Need to take that one off from there. You just launched a successful therapy group and you want to promote it to engage new clients so that they too can benefit. You have asked your current therapy clients to offer an anonymous testimonial telling others how useful it has been. From an ethical standpoint, this is A, prohibited under any circumstances, B, allowed since it is a successful group that they will benefit future clients that may join, C, allowed only if they sign a voluntary testimonial release, and D, prohibited unless they sign a voluntary testimonial release, use a pseudonym, and do not provide a photo.
Oh, this is a close one.
Yes, that has been my experience with this question before.
Yeah, I'm going to wait another minute because we got some good answers coming through there. Okay, it looks like choice D is 49%.
Prohibited unless they sign a voluntary testimonial release, use a pseudonym or, initials maybe, and don't provide a photo. Well, it is prohibited under any circumstances. That is very shocking for most of the audiences that I talk to, because they don't realize that the ACA Code of Ethics outlines that testimonial from clients, former clients, or any other person vulnerable to undue influence is prohibited. And so even if you get a release, the release expires, is what my attorney told me. So releases expire. And so are you going to really take it down if in the release it said that it was good for a year and you make this banner or you have it on your website? Are you going to keep track of truly? And so even if you did, the ACA Code of Ethics says, no testimonials from clients or former clients or anyone who's vulnerable to your influence. You have been providing career counseling to a client who is seeking employment, and concurrent to the counseling and with your knowledge, the client has made an application for employment with several employers. A potential employer calls you and asks you for your opinion as to your client's suitability for the employer's job opening. Under which of the following conditions are you free, not in violation on any professional ethics, to provide the information requested? A, when you are certain that the information you would provide would assure, I'm sorry, I'm having to move things around here to read the rest, would assure that the client will get the job. B says when it is clear that the client will not get the job unless the information is given. C, when in your best judgment, you believe that the information would enhance the client's chances for getting the job, or D, none of the above. What's going on with the voting?
Well, it looks like, man, we are about 98% choice D, none of the above.
None of the above. That is correct. You're not to provide that information. The ethical principle of competency is the duty to A, tell the truth. B, only practice in the areas of expertise. C, enter into challenging relationships. Or D, try to solve problems faster than other counselors. What do we see, Eric? Are people
Well, it looks like choice B, about 97%.
You said B as in boy, only practice in the area of your expertise. That's competency. Very good. Which of the following, hang on, I'm trying to drag this, keep having to change my screen. I'm sorry. Which of the following is not one of the 8 sections included in the ACA Code of Ethics? A, resolving ethical issues. B, institutional assumptions. C, professional responsibility. Or D, confidentiality, privileged communication, and privacy. One of these is not one of the 8 sections in the ACA Code of Ethics.
All right, well, right now we look like 98% says choice B.
B as in boy, institutional assumptions. That is correct. All right, how about we do one more and land the plane with this one. And then that way you guys can talk about upcoming events. We have one going on in Katy, and is the first Friday of March. I believe that is March 4th. And we are meeting at a new location. All the information is already posted on our blog at HoustonLPC.com. So if you're interested in doing that in person, check it out on our website. Your client enters your session excited about the new age therapy that you tried last session. She had brought in an article, and because of her enthusiasm and the fact that it did not require new training, you had agreed to give it a try. She asks you to continue during the session, but you have done your homework and it's been proven ineffective, and in select few clients, the condition was slightly worsened. You validate your patient, your client, noting how glad you are that she's very excited to try something new. And then you tell her that unfortunately, you won't be able to continue with these types of treatments. With this act, you are expressing which one? There it is. A, anti-consumerism. B, beneficence. C, exploitation. Or D, non-malfeasance.
Okay, looks like we're coming in about 65% choice D.
D. If you voted for that, then you know the definition of non-malfeasance, which is referring to providing ineffective treatments or acting with malice towards a client or a patient. Anti-consumerism is incorrect because it's not therapeutic or ethical term. Beneficence is incorrect because it means that you take actions to benefit others. And exploitation is incorrect because it's the therapist's misuse of power or influence and exploit clients for their own benefit and in the client's detriment. That is actually a good ethical principle. We'll stop the presentation today with that. The boards tend to look at whether behaviors are to your benefit or detriment versus the client's benefit and detriment. Remember that question about having the testimonial? Could it be argued that that was to your benefit professionally and potentially to their detriment? Let's say that they changed their mind and they don't want their testimonial there. Well, the board will look at that. Is it for the benefit of the client, regardless of whether it's beneficial to the clinician or not, versus beneficial to the client, no matter what, hands down. So I'm going to stop the presentation right here. I have more questions, but we'll leave that for another time. Thank you so much for everyone who was able to participate with the poll. I think that that was fun, right? That went well. It worked. We were not sure.
That was fun. We have a lot of smart people out there listening today. So
yes, I think it were only 3 questions that differ from the right answer, and they were tricky. I on purpose put them there to make them think a little bit more. So hopefully this presentation got you to think about ethics, and it gave you hopefully a couple of new perspectives. Eric, if it's okay, last but not least, for those Spanish speakers, I want to give away my Spanish book in Spanish about bipolar disorder called Bipolarizados. So maybe we'll do this. If you email info@houstonlpc.com and say, I would like the e-version of the book, we'll send you the whole book on an e-format and several formats, PDF and other ways to read it on your Kindle and devices, completely free. It's for sale on Amazon, so if you want to pay a little bit and get it delivered to your house, you can do that too, but we want to give it to you for free for attending today's presentation. Awesome.
That's really nice. And we did intend to have this translated into Spanish today. For some reason, it didn't work on our configuration. Liliana, sorry about that. I know you were here ready to translate it. I would like to do that in the future, though. That would be really great. And for everyone for playing this exciting game show today, you are going to be rewarded with a fabulous prize of a CEU certificate. That's right, your very own CEU certificate. So after this webinar, you're going to get a link to do your evaluation and print off your certificate on our website. You're also going to get an email tomorrow with the same link. So if you don't have time right now, look for that email to come across. There's also going to be a link about membership, and also the email will contain a link to next month's webinar, so you could register for that too. So a lot of great information coming in that email. Thank you so much, David. Once again, you're a great speaker, and that was very entertaining, and we appreciate your blessing of wisdom. Absolutely. It was fun. Thank you guys so much for your attention, and be good and ethical out there.
Thanks, David. Awesome.
And thanks for Kim for co-hosting today, and we will see you next month.
Absolutely.